Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers, sovereign thinkers. This is LO3's News Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida, and today's date is Thursday, September 28, 2017. Yes, it is in the afternoon, and I'm just running around as usual, just trying to keep busy. Yeah, I didn't do a show yesterday, so seems like I got to rest as well as a human element. Yeah, so let's talk about Hugh Hefner passing away, founder of Playboy. May his soul remain forever free. Of course, everyone will praise him, but you know what? We don't know how deep the rabbit hole he went to get to that started. It's not out of jealousy or envy. It's just a question we should all think about. However, I'm not here to crucify him by any means. And of course, there's a report from Laws News came out a few days ago pertaining that the U.S. government pays the NFL for the players to stand for the national anthem. You can hit my Facebook page. You go to lawsnews.com. I guess LAWZ. I think maybe Laws News, yeah, but go on my Facebook page, lawsnews.com. Pretty good stuff, and I have to give that person a lot of credit because it has plenty of merit. And even an individual like myself can keep the tabs on how the NFL, Homeland Security, and the government goes hand in hand. I guess the reason why they're doing the mailing, possibly because they're not getting paid to do so. So, hey, like I said, just what if you do, folks? Look at everything across the board. This is why I did my show a couple of days ago. That's saying the NFL Trump extravaganza, just another mass distraction. I gave you my intake, and if you're going to go further, great. Send me information on that as well. That would be greatly appreciated. So, I'm going to be mainly focusing on a Miami-Dade County agenda, which one particular group call themselves the Christian Family Coalition, CFC, and they have facilities around the country. There's one based in Miami, and they're talking about Miami-Dade County to legalize child abuse. It's a question mark. So I just had to I read the basics on that ordinance or referendum. And it's pretty controversial. However, I'm going to hit both sides of the platform and all that good stuff. From their side and the LGBT community side, this is more another divide and conquer game as far as I'm concerned, what I read so far. But it mainly is Miami-Dade County Agenda Item 7D, which is ordinance related to conversion or reparative therapy for minors, creating Article 20, Chapter 21 to 281, and so forth. And this is, some things you have to look at. But can this affect parents' rights? Their parents' rights, which is natural born rights. And that's one of the things you have to really observe. And of course, you're always gonna be the propaganda matrix, the LGBT, and all this. It's like, oh, you guys are transphobic and all that. But I'm just gonna read the articles first, which these are mainly from Solely Boil Frog, and of course the Christian Family Coalition of Florida. They have a petition on this, and the agenda is supposed to be happening this Tuesday, October 3rd at 9:30 p.m. at the Stephen P. Clark Building in downtown Miami. So, supposed to be some big rally there as well at 7 o'clock that morning. So right off if you're in downtown Miami, you know exactly what's that government center station. You're right there. I may be heading down there. Technician may be heading down there, possibly do a live podcast on those areas. So we'll just read what they have to say here. It says here, we allowed Miami-Dade County to legalize child abuse, and the petition text of Miami-Dade County wants to ban parents, pastors, and everyone else from counseling minors who have been raped, and or sexually abused and have unwanted homosexual urges and sexual identity disorder. Section 21-289, the proposed ban prohibits any counseling, practice, or treatment performed with the goal of changing a person's sexual orientation or gender identity, including but not limited to efforts to change behaviors, gender expression, or to reduce or eliminate sexual or romantic attraction or feelings toward the person of the same gender. If guilty of having a conversation with the child, you will be fined $500 each time. So they consider this Miami-Dade County ban is illegal, discriminatory, and unconstitutional. It's a clear violation of your First Amendment right to free speech. There's a petition, you can sign it, and all that. So it is very interesting because what they're saying can violate your basic rights. But I'm just gonna go to the next platform here, the other side of the story, what they have to say here by the Slowly Boiled Frog, which came out a couple of days ago. And I like when it says here, hate group leader claims that conversion therapy bans constitute child abuse. Hate group leader Anthony Verdugo of Christian Family Coalition is at it again. Tuesday's email with the above graphic reiterates his organization's talking points. Miami on Tuesday, October 3rd, Christian Family Coalition, Florida will rally to protect parental rights. Miami-Dade County has proposed an ordinance to ban parents, pastors, and everyone else from counseling minors who have been raped and or sexually abused and have unwanted homosexual urges and sexual identity disorder. You're making a difference. Your phone calls, your emails, and your online petition signatures have reached the commissioners. Common sense has prevailed, but the fight is not over. And this person, who wrote this here? I'm trying to find out who actually wrote this. One moment. I should have. David Carey Hart. Okay, so I will go on here. Verdugo continues to claim inaccurately that the Miami-Dade ordinance bans parents from discussing sexuality with their children. He also continues to falsely claim that sexual abuse is responsible for children being gay or having gender dysphoria, which he incorrectly refers to as a gender identity disorder. I never know whether this guy is ignorant, stupid, full of crap, or all three. Who cares? The main point is that Verdugo is a toxic purveyor of misinformation about the LGBT people. I would be surprised if this ordinance did not pass. Verdugo drones done. Univision took a poll on Twitter and had Miami-Dade constituents vote. Look at the results. After all, what could be more scientifically reliable than a Twitter poll is also irrelevant. As we pointed out earlier today, there is no simple scientific basis for gay conversion therapy. Last May, the Southern Poverty Law Center published a comprehensive report entitled Quacks, Conversion Therapists, the Anti-LGBT Right, and Demonization of Homosexuality. If some folks on Twitter are fine with juvenile gay conversion therapy, then some folks on Twitter do not fully understand the issue. Verdugo sees things that no one else appreciates, like constituents of Miami-Dade County have voted online. Now it's their turn to be there on October 3rd. So it's interesting when they have to use this Southern Poverty Law Center on conversions and all that. And it came out May 25th, 2016. And I'm not going to go in this entirety, but it's very interesting what the Southern Poverty Law Center. Yeah, Mike Potak, former employee. Okay, I see that. And you know how I feel about this particular organization, all right? But however, one thing I've noticed, I always support the rights of individuals as a whole. So, and in addition, the parents have a right to raise their children and question what their motives are or their mindset is and all that. And not to condemn, but enlighten and teach. The parents have the right to be the teachers and all this good teachers and the rabbis to their children. So I'm not saying this on a Christian perspective or anything like that, but human nature, natural born rights. However, There actually is a file number here. We'll just go with this. Go Miami legislative item file number 171359. And that's the same thing, agenda item 7D. And this is agenda item 7D. It's going to be on the date on the 3rd. And it's a second reading, by the way. It says here, title ordinance relating to conversion or reparative therapy for minors, creating Article 20, Chapter 21 of the Code of Miami-Dade County, Florida, providing definitions, providing for applicability in the unincorporated areas of Miami-Dade County and enforcement by the county, prohibiting certain licensed professional therapists and counselors from engaging in conversion or reparative therapy with a minor, amending ACC-10, providing penalties, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. And says here, indexes minor conversion therapy. Prime sponsor is Sally A. Heyman, and co-sponsors Daniela Levine Cava and Audrey M. Emerson. So there's no sunset provision, so it's supposed to be permanent. So we'll just read this here. I got the PDF format on this perspective. And so it'll be way down. I think I'll try to find a way of distracting you. And as it says here, whereas being lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender is not a disease, disorder, illness, deficiency, or shortcoming, and whereas numerous major professional associations of the mental health practitioners and researchers in the United States have recognized this fact for nearly 40 years, and whereas, for instance, the American Psychological Association convened a task force on appropriate therapeutic responses to sexual orientation task force, which conducted a systematic review of peer-reviewed journal literature on sexual orientation change efforts, commonly known as a conversion or reparative therapy. And whereas the task force issued a report in 2009, which it concluded that efforts to change a person's sexual orientation can pose critical health risk to lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender people, including confusion, depression, guilt, helplessness, hopelessness, shame, social withdrawal, suicidality, substance abuse, stress, disappointment, self-blame, decreased self-esteem, and authenticity to others, increased self-hatred, hostility, and blame towards parents, feelings of anger and betrayal, loss of friends and potential romantic partners, problems with sexual and emotional intimacy, sexual dysfunction, higher risk sexual behaviors, a feeling of being dehumanized and untrue to self, a loss of faith, and a sense of having wasted time and resources. And whereas the task force findings are supported by overwhelming scientific consensus that these practices have no scientific basis, contradiction the modern scientific understanding of sexual orientation, and put young people at risk of serious harm, including severe depression and suicide. And whereas moreover, according to one study entitled Family Rejection as a Predictor of Negative Health Outcomes in white and Latino lesbians, gay, and bisexual young adults in 2009, minors who experience family rejection based on their sexual orientation face especially serious risk. And whereas the study found that lesbian, gay, and bisexual young adults who reported higher levels of family rejection during adolescence were 8.4 times more likely to report having attempted suicide, 5.9 times more likely to report higher levels of depression, 3.4 times more likely to use illegal drugs, and 3.4 times more likely to report having engaged in unprotected sexual intercourse compared with peers from families that reported no or low levels of family rejection. And whereas the American Psychological Association issued a resolution on appropriate affirmative response to sexual orientation, distress, and change efforts in 2009, which advises parents, guardians, and young people and their families to avoid sexual orientation change efforts that portray homosexuality as a mental ill or developmental disorder, and to seek psychotherapy, social supports, and educational services that provide accurate information on sexual orientation and sexuality, increase family and school support, and reduce rejection of sexual minority youth. And whereas the American Psychiatric Association also published a position statement in March of 2000 which concluded that psychotherapeutic modalities to convert or repair homosexuality are based on developmental theories whose scientific validity is questionable, and such attempts to do so result in psychological harm. And whereas in the last 4 decades reparative therapists have not produced any rigorous scientific research to substantiate their claims of cure, and whereas until there is such research available, the American Psychiatric Association recommends that ethical practitioners refrain from attempts to change individuals' sexual orientation, and whereas the American Psychiatric Association therefore opposes any psychiatric treatment such as reparative or conversion therapy which is based upon the assumption that homosexuality per se is a mental disorder, or based on a prior assumption that a patient should change their sexual orientation. And whereas the American School Counselor Association's position statement on professional school counselor and lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning LGBTQ youth concludes that it's not a role in the professional school counselor to attempt to change a student's sexual orientation, gender identity, but instead to provide support to LGBTQ students to promote student achievement and personal well-being. This is pretty strange right here about the whole transgender thing. I see this more of a mind control, and I say that out of respect. I'm not trying to go bash a particular group of individuals in that realm, in the gay lesbian community. It's not like that at all. Sometimes they say a lot of the children they see things in a projection. They project things. All right, happens to all of us. Don't get me wrong, but I find that very, a real crossing that line, and it's all out of respect and in good faith. But I'll continue on here. And whereas the American Academy of Pediatrics in 1993 also published an article in its Journal of Pediatrics stating therapy directed at specifically changing sexual orientation is contradictate since it provokes guilt and anxiety while having little or no potential for achieving changes in orientation. And whereas similar findings have been made by other professional associations, including but not limited to the American Medical Association Council on Scientific Affairs, the National Association of Social Workers, the American Counseling Association Governing Council, the American Psychoanalytic Association, the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. And whereas based on these studies, there's no evidence that sexual orientation can be altered through therapy, and attempts to do so may be many harmful. And whereas numerous jurisdictions in Florida across the United States have passed legislation banning conversion of reparative therapy, including but not limited to the cities of Miami Beach, Miami, Milton Manors, North Bay Village, Boynton Beach, El Porto, West Palm Beach, Cincinnati, Seattle, and the states of New York, New Jersey, California, Oregon, New Mexico, and Illinois. And in fact, such laws have been challenged and the courts have been upheld as constitutional. And for instance, California, a lawsuit was filed challenging the state laws banning reparative or conversion therapy. And the United States, whereas the United States Court of Appeals, the Ninth Circuit ruled Welsh versus Brown that the law is not unconstitutional, does not violate religious freedom. And whereas on May 1st, 2017, the United States Supreme Court rejected a petition to review the decision of Welsh versus Brown, thus leaving the California law intact. And whereas this is the 4th time the Supreme Court declined to review challenges to laws banning conversion therapy. And whereas this board has compelling interest in protecting the public safety, health, general welfare, as well as physical and psychological well-being of minors, including lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender youth, and in protecting minors against exposure to serious harm caused by sexual orientation, change efforts such as conversion or reparative therapy, but may be ordained by the Board of County Commissioners in Miami-Dade County, Section 1, Chapter 20, of Chapter 20 Article 20 of Chapter 21 of the Code of Miami-Dade County or Miami-Dade County, Florida, is hereby to create as follows. Section 21-288 is the policy is hereby declared to be the policy of the Miami-Dade County in the exercise of its police power for public safety, health, and general welfare to protect minors, including lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender youth, against exposure to serious harm caused by sexual orientation change efforts, physical conversion, or reparative therapy. And it says here definition, section 21-289. Unless otherwise expressly stated, the following term shall, for the purpose of this section, have the meanings indicated in this section. A. Conversion therapy, also referred to as a reparative therapy, means any counseling, practice, or treatment performed with the goal of changing a person's sexual orientation or gender identity, including but not limited to efforts to change behaviors, gender expression, or to reduce or eliminate sexual or romantic attraction or feelings toward a person of the same gender. Conversion therapy does not include the counseling that is subsection 1 provides support a subsection 1 provides support to a person undergoing a gender transition, or subsection 2 provides acceptance, support, or understanding of a person, or facilitates a person's research, support, identity exploration, and development, including sexual orientation neutral interventions to prevent or address unlawful conduct or unsafe sexual practices, if such counseling is not conducted with the goal of changing the person's sexual orientation or gender identity. B. Minors mean a person less than 18 years of age. And this is right here, section 21-290, conversion therapy prohibited. A person who is licensed or not licensed by the state to provide professional counseling, or who performs counseling as part of their professional training under chapters 458, 459, 490, or 491 Florida statutes, as such chapters may be amended, including but not limited to medical practitioners, osteopathic practitioners, psychologists, psychotherapists, social workers, marriage and family therapists, and licensed counselors shall not engage in conversion therapy or reparative therapy with a minor. It says here, section 21-291, applicability and enforcement. This article shall be applicable in the unincorporated areas of the Miami-Dade County, with the enforcement of the provisions of this article being the responsibility of the county mayor, or the county mayor's designee shall designate a county department to monitor and enforce provisions of this article. So technically, if you say more, it could be more of a Big Brother move, Big Brother or police state move. So, and that's something you have to really question. Okay, that's why always got to look at things in the bigger picture. So that's just some of the areas you got to really look at. And I like what it talks about that. Okay, and it says here, penalty, which is section 21-291. The first violation of provision of this article shall result in a fine of $500. Second and subsequent violation shall result in a fine of $1,000 each. Each conversion therapy session with a minor shall constitute a separate offense, and each session that purports to extend and from one day to another shall constitute separate offenses for each day in which which a session takes place. These penalties shall not preclude any other remedies available at law or in equity, including injunctive relief in the circuit court. So that's why it's interesting, because the CFC made that mistake. It says section 21-289, but in reality it's 292. Just correct that. Section 2, section 8cc-10 of the Code of Miami-Dade County, Florida, is hereby amended as read as follows. And it says here, section 8cc-10, schedule for civil penalties. The following tables shows the sections of this code as they may be amended from time to time, which may be enforced pursuant to the provisions of this chapter, and the dollar amount of civil penalty for the violation of these sections as they may be amended. The description of violations below are for informational purposes are not meant to limit or define the nature of the violations or the subject matter of the listed code sections, except to the extent that different types of violations of the same code section may carry different civil penalties. For each code listed in the schedule of civil penalties, the entirety of that section may be enforced by the mechanism provided in this Chapter 8cc, regardless of whether all activities prescribed or required within that particular section are described in the description of violation column. To determine the exact nature of any activity prescribed or required by this code, the relevant code section must be examined. And it tells you, they got it right here, 2-2-1-287, 2-21-288. First offense 500, rafting 250, and the conversion therapy 500, and second or subsequent offense $1,000. In section 3, if any section or subsection, sentence, clause, or provision of this ordinance is held invalid, the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected by such invalidity. If section 4 is the intention of the Board of County Commissioners and is to hereby ordain that provisions of this ordinance, including any sunset provision, shall be part of the Code of Miami-Dade County, Florida, the sections of this ordinance may be renumbered or relettered to accomplish such intentions, and the word ordinance may be changed to the section, article, or other appropriate word. So this ordinance 5, this ordinance shall become effective 10 days after the date of enactment, unless vetoed by the mayor, and if vetoed, shall become effectively upon an override by this board. So it's passed and adopted. If it's passed and adopted, approved by the county attorney to form legal sufficiency, prepared by Terrence A. Smith, and of course you got the sponsors and co-sponsors of this bill, this referendum. So it's just trying to protect the children, even with the transgender thing. That is really bizarre. So some people may not agree with me on what I made that last statement. However, I find this legally I find this as a constitutional challenge, okay, on the Florida Constitution. And like I said right here, Article 1, Section 2, basic rights. All natural persons, female and male alike, are equal before the law and have inalienable rights, among which they have a right to enjoy and defend life, liberty, to pursue happiness, to be worked for industry, and to require, possess, and protect property. Of course, so I'm going to add to put that in there. All right, this is for, if you're a Florida resident. So that's one of the areas you have to look at. Is parental rights a basic right? Absolutely. If they person say, oh, a person's a girl and he's actually a boy, vice versa, you can actually question them, make them teach them in those areas. So can that affect try to do conversion? Not really. It's just you want to enlighten them. So sometimes that may be touchy with this ordinance. I'm just looking at it on a legality basis. Not to be homophobic or anything like that. That's ridiculous. Because I know one area in California do have a camp for that, transgender camp, and many people think that's child abuse because they're losing their identity and their true identity, their individualism, plus are being bullied. I say, hell, they're better off reading The Might is Right, as far as I'm concerned, because the truth of the matter is, this is a dangerous world. But the whole thing is, as adults, so forth, you have the right as individuals. All right, and there's some people I know that did transform, and I'm not condemning them by any means. But as long as they just be themselves and don't violate others, and vice versa. But the whole thing of protecting the children, how far can that reach? How far can that reach? If the government is trying to encroach on those areas. That's one thing you have to question as well. And of course, too, the right of privacy, that could be challenged as well. So I'm not going to use the U.S. Constitution because that's considered a corporate doctrine. That's been like a big mistake. Only if you had to use that as a last resort. But the fact is, the right of privacy, every natural person has a right to be left alone and free from governmental intrusion into the person's private life, except as otherwise provided herein. So that's just for the first sentence, the right of privacy. So can this referendum be encroach, violates Article 1, Section 2 and 23 of the Florida Constitution? We can use, they say free speech, we can use possibly, Section 4 of the same article. That's one thing you have to look at. In good faith, I can say, yeah, to an extent. Is that be 100% enforceable? No guarantees. Can it be overturned by a jury? Yeah, if they try to tell people you got to be fined and all that, if they do have a civil trial and all that, and they can have a jury, and it can be done. Something to look at as well. But it is a real touchy subject. That's one thing I tell folks. And like I said before, people got to make the right choices for their children. I'm not going to tell them how to think or what to do. The children have the right to know the truth. And that's how I see it. And they will respect you a lot more, to those parents out there. And that is really it. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or even saying something that's interesting you may want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondences with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedoms Network, Scene.life, Minds.com, FutureNet.club, Patreon.com/Local3 if you want to be my patron, donor, and all that. And you can get me on Gab, which is Gab.ai, which is a Twitter version for free speech. Alright? Something to really observe, my friends. Alright, once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.